Hi, Shelby.
Hi, Steve.
How are you? Or,
I'm doing well.
or should I say, comment ça va?
Ça va bien?
Voilà, ça va bien. On peut même dire, ça va très bien.
Ça va très bien. Très bien.
Très
Well,
bien.
it's Monday morning, so
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, voilà. We should always take advantage of these to say, make sure everyone maintains their social distancing and wears a mask. I get mad at our health authorities here in Canada. They don't come up with a very strong statement on masks. They always say, well, if you can't maintain social distancing, then you should wear a mask. I just think wearing a mask, all the evidence increasingly is that wearing a mask, if both people wear masks, the possibility of transmission is significantly reduced. So,
Yeah, that's what
anyway.
the research is showing.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
I'm here, staying inside my house. I
That's
only
good.
go out to go to the store, and I wear a mask.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get
everyone
out
else
more
does
and
the same.
more, and my wife and I, we go out and play golf, and we don't wear masks while playing golf, and we even had
Very
dinner
nice.
on the outdoor patio at the golf club, but I'm not going inside the
Nice.
restaurant. And I'm going to be going to the bank now, go to the store. I wear a mask when I go inside anything, and it's just makes sense for myself and for others. So, yeah. So we had a little bit of propaganda just to encourage good practice everywhere. So how's your French learning been?
So it's been good, but I do admit that this week I have spent less time reading than I planned on, and I haven't even really been practicing pronouncing words out loud. I've been listening to different lessons and songs, but not so much of the reading and practicing pronunciation. So I think like when I do say words out loud, they don't come out the way I think they're going to come out.
Right.
So I feel like I have a long way to go there. And
Okay.
I just didn't commit as much time this week as I should have.
What I'm going to do is, first I wanted to say that that's normal, that the easiest thing, so that's not necessarily bad, because the easiest thing to do is to listen, and the listening kind of keeps us in touch with the language we're learning, even when we don't have as much time as we would like to have to do other things. So sometimes I do less reading on my iPad, less linking because of other activities. But as long as I can get some listening in, it keeps me in touch with the language. So, and that's where the playlist is so useful, because I can put the whole course on a playlist, or put lessons onto a playlist, and I've always got it with me to listen to. That was my one comment. The other comment you made was that you think when you're reading, you think that you've got the pronunciation, and when you go to say it, you don't pronounce it properly. That's also perfectly normal. And I find that I do the same. So if I'm listening to Arabic or something, and while I'm listening to it, and when I read it and I've listened to that text, and I think I've got the pronunciation, I'm pronouncing it to myself in my head. But when I actually go to say it, of course, I don't pronounce it as well, in real, out loud, as I do to myself in my brain. But what I have found with other languages is that it's just a question of time. The more you continue listening and reading, when you eventually go to pronounce things 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you'll just do a lot better than you do now. So I think it's very important that you have a sense, that you feel that you're in your mind that you're pronouncing it correctly. That means that you're hearing it, even if you can't produce it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But maybe we should go into a lesson and hear you pronounce and see how that goes. Would you say that right now pronunciation is your main concern, rather than any particular issue of grammar?
In terms of my main concern, I would say it's my weakest point out of the 4 main buckets.
Right.
But my biggest concern, I still do think I'm not fully adept in the sentence structure.
Okay.
And I mean, like, you gave me a great lesson on last
Right.
week,
Yeah.
which at the time I wasn't fully understanding, and then actually when I rewatched the video and then reread some of the lessons, I got it a lot better. So
Okay.
grammar and sentence structure is like kind of coming together, but I don't feel actually super comfortable stringing together a sentence even.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at another mini story then.
Okay, cool. All right, so you want to do a mini story?
Whatever, it's up to you. You're in charge. You want to do a mini story? You want Le Petit Prince? Last week we did,
let's do Le Petit Prince.
Voilà, Le Petit Prince.
Oops.
What's interesting, when we say Le Petit Prince, I said last time that in French you have this sound, right? Which speakers of Spanish are inclined to want to say Le Petit, when in fact it's Le Petit, right? And so the word petit, often the almost disappears. So sometimes you'll see in a book where it's quite colloquial, they'll say le and then p apostrophe le petit prince, le petit prince. So the tends to kind of disappear. Anyway, let's go sentence mode so people can see the, okay, that we don't need. Okay.
All right.
So maybe we could start by reading it.
Okay. Let's give this a shot.
Get right to your pronunciation.
Okay. Je demande pardon, enfant, d'avoir dédié ce livre à une grande personne.
Very good. Very good. So let's first deal with the pronunciation issues. The first one is, this is very important because you can explain something to someone, that person can understand what you're explaining. That doesn't mean that becomes a habit. So we talked about the liaison. So
I know. Good. I know. Okay. I'm failing on the liaison. I know that.
So that's okay. That's okay. And very often when you notice I often make a mistake, and then I realize that I made that mistake after the fact. And that's very good because we need to make mistakes. Eventually we actually notice ourselves making the mistake. And then at some point we stop making the mistake. But it's not like an automatic, you do something or I do something, I say something wrong, someone corrects me and now I'm doing it correctly. That's not how it works. Gradually we get better at it. So, je demande pardon, you said that fine, je demande pardon, aux enfants. So we have to hear the z, aux enfants, right? Je demande pardon aux enfants d'avoir dédié, you got that right, this is an accent, right? Okay. And then, une.
Ce livre?
Ce livre is fine, that was good. Ce livre, yeah. À une grande personne.
Une grande personne.
Voilà. So there again, because it's une grande, there's a E there. So even if you don't pronounce the E, we have to hear the D. Whereas if it's masculine, then we don't hear the D. Except if it begins with a vowel. So, un grand homme, right? There's a liaison. If that was it would be un grand homme. Okay? But une grande personne. But if it's un grand livre, a big book, a great book, un grand livre, we don't hear the D. So the liaison issue, so there's a number of letters that are silent if the next word begins with a consonant. But there is this liaison issue. If we ever come across where if the D then is followed by a word that begins with a vowel, then the D is accentuated. It almost sounds like, but you wouldn't have a grand d'avoir, but
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, so could we say that sentence? Yeah.
My thought is just like, I understood that the liaison is kind of like I understand that there's actual words like this that are compressed, or are these called compound words in French as well?
Like where they use the apostrophe? Contractions, I think it's a contraction. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know many terms. I don't know many terms.
It's not the important part of being able to speak the language.
But the disappears. The disappears.
Right. So there's these words that are kind of connected depending on the circumstances. Right. But I also kind of understood that the liaison is really between every word. Like maybe that wasn't what you taught me directly, but I saw in one of your videos that in French it's really monotonous and it's just kind of like this long string and there's not so much of a separation between each word.
True, so and I think to some extent every foreign language sounds that way when you get started, but in particular though, it's this idea that words that begin with a vowel or H, that the consonant that precedes that word is kind of carried on. So, je demande pardon aux enfants. So you have to say aux enfants. You can't say aux enfants. Aux enfants d'avoir dédié ce livre à une grande personne. So, pronounce that for me again.
Okay. Je demande pardon aux enfants d'avoir dédié ce livre à une grande personne.
Excellent. You hit every one of the nasal sounds. Because
really?
that's an issue. Yes, that's an issue in French because there's a tendency to confuse them. So, and what's also very nice is you sound like you're a Hispanic person.
Better than sounding like an American speaking
well, not
French,
necessarily,
right?
but that's not necessarily, but that's fine. Okay.
I've got some French friends, and I've been watching some great French videos too. And I think, it's all generalization, but I have the understanding that Americans sound especially dumb when they speak French, according to French people.
I don't think
that's okay.
The worst thing, I think, an English speaker, forget American, like if you have English speakers, because in English, we tend to have a lot of intonation. Like, we talk about Chinese being a tonal language. English is quite tonal, not in terms of the meaning of each word, but we, in expressing our emotions, I don't really think that, and there's a lot of intonation. And if you start applying English intonation to French, then it's not good.
Yeah, and that's me right here. Very expressive.
No, you're Hispanic now, so that's okay. Okay. Any word in there that you're going to leave dédié, or you know what dédié?
So I understand it. It's just the tense of the word.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say that as a link.
So the thing of it is wherever you see the E with the apostrophe, the aigu apostrophe, that's the past tense, past participle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you had dédié IER at the end, that would be the infinitive, to dedicate.
Right.
So this is the past participle. Avoir dédié, j'ai dédié, I dedicated. J'ai, tu as dédié, il a dédié, nous avons dédié, vous avez dédié, ils ont dédié, right? That's if you conjugate it.
Yes.
And here it's the infinitive. D'avoir, to have dedicated. D'avoir dédié. So that's the past participle. It's the same as dedicated in English.
Right.
Okay? So the other thing that I would save there, je demande pardon. Because we don't demand pardon.
Common phrase?
Yeah, it's a common phrase, and it's apologize is how it's translated, or I ask forgiveness, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but je demande pardon. It's not that useful. You don't spend so much of your life apologizing, but that's how they say.
But that's like that's the way you would say.
That's the way. Je demande pardon.
Would that be like, for example, if say I'm in Paris lost and I need to say like excuse me?
No, you wouldn't. You just say pardon. Excusez-moi.
Okay.
Excusez-moi. Or you could say je vous demande pardon, but you wouldn't say that. That's your if you've done something bad, you might say je vous demande pardon.
Okay.
If you spilled their coffee cup or something. But no.
Pardon, which I did this morning.
Okay, there you go. No, if you spill your own, that's okay. You don't have to apologize. Okay. All right.
All right,
let's go to the next line. Yeah. Okay.
J'ai une excuse sérieuse. Cette grande personne est le meilleur ami que j'ai au monde.
Voilà. Very good. Okay. Very good. Cette grande personne est le meilleur. Every so often you slip into the est, but le meilleur ami que j'ai au monde.
Au monde.
O. AU is always O.
O.
Au monde.
How was this pronounced again?
Meilleur.
Meilleur.
Meilleur. And we hear the R, that little bit of a...
So the double L is kind of like the double L in Spanish in this sense, right? Like that is in fee, the word fee?
Fee, yeah. It's always. I mean, there are some exceptions where the double L is pronounced as L, typically in names, but overwhelmingly it's un million. Well, un million, a million. But if it's mostly it's double L is like a Y. Okay.
Okay. So meilleur.
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 Meilleur. And
Best
it's
friend.
not quite, the Spanish is a little, especially if you're in Argentina, they get a stronger version, but it's meilleur.
Oh, yes.
But
Yes.
meilleur.
Meilleur. Okay.
Voilà. And so you have bon is good, meilleur is better,
Best.
and le meilleur is the best. So I would save le meilleur, because it's often useful to know how, you know, the superlative, you know, is done in different languages.
So, okay, so.
But yeah.
It's the same word, meilleur, but then the only difference is you add le to
meilleur.
Go from better to best.
Right.
So there's no separate word for better.
Better is meilleur. Il est meilleur.
It's meilleur by itself.
Cette personne est meilleure que l'autre.
Better.
Yeah, better. Meilleur.
Oh.
Le meilleur is the best. Okay. See, meilleur is better. So save meilleur.
Should it? What do you think about all of these? I don't
like that. That's this. You don't. To me,
too much.
Less is more.
I'm actually going to save that as well.
Okay, so le meilleur is kind of useful. And again, it's important to distinguish between adjectives and adverbs. You know, mieux is the adverb. We won't get into that now, but meilleur is the adjective. Meilleur is the adverb.
Yeah.
Oh, meilleur. Okay. Il est le meilleur joueur. He's the best player. Le meilleur joueur.
Le meilleur joueur.
Okay. So j'ai une excuse. Say j'ai une excuse.
J'ai une excuse.
That's not bad. You're getting better. The U. All right. Any of those sounds that are difficult, and or even distinguishing the different nasal sounds, you have to remember that you will only get better as you continue to listen, and then you read and you kind of self-vocalize. And yes, when you go to pronounce it, you still don't get it quite. You don't really nail it, but you will continue gradually to get better. That the brain starts to sort these things out and get more and more. As it hears the sounds better, you're going to slowly be able to pronounce them better. But it all takes time. Okay, and AU is O. Beaucoup, AU, O. Au monde. In the world.
Monde.
Au monde.
Au monde.
O is à le, right? O this is a contraction. So à la, if it was a feminine, I don't know. À la maison, à la maison. But here is à le monde becomes au monde. All right, so that's important to remember. O is à le, combined in one word, and it becomes O.
Yeah, it's not the most intuitive, but it makes
sense. Not at all intuitive. It's dumb. Why did they do it that way? But that's how they do it. So we have to get used to the language as it is, not as we would like it to be.
All right, I'll play along.
All right. Okay, now let's try.
All right, can we page?
Yes, please.
All right. J'ai une autre excuse. Cette grande personne peut-on comprendre même les livres pour enfants?
Excellent. Peut-tu comprendre, because we don't pronounce the T at the end of a word.
Peut-tu comprendre.
Voilà, because if there's no vowel there, we don't hear the second T there. So it's tu. Tu comprendre. And say the last part, même les livres pour enfants.
Même les livres pour enfants.
Perfect. And you understand that, right?
Yeah. I don't know why this is.
You don't need livre.
I know what that means.
And enfant, you know what enfant is.
Yes, I do. I don't know. So what level is this at? I don't really need to practice that.
And comprendre, actually,
I know all of these.
Yeah, I think
actually.
I'm
it's
always...
Like I said, I was just listening, so I haven't been reading, so I haven't been organizing my links.
That's fine. I find that I like to get rid of the colored, blue or yellow words on my page, because one of the signs to me that I'm improving in the language, because very often we have the impression that we're not improving.
Yeah.
But if I see my page getting wider and wider, that gives me the sense that I'm getting better. Because
Well, and
comprendre and all these, yeah.
I like seeing the stats go up.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
very.
yeah. Oh, the
Oh, and did you
stats up
say
there.
you wanted to look at my stats today?
We could. I didn't say that, but we could do so if you want. It's up to you. But let's
We
go.
can't. I'm enjoying this, but
Let's just keep
that to
going
me
here.
is very motivating.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go
Next page.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Have never said this word before.
Okay.
J'ai une troisième excuse.
Okay. We'll stop you there.
Yeah.
The S almost always is pronounced like a Z when it's between two vowels.
J'ai une troisième.
Voilà. J'ai une troisième excuse.
Troisième.
Voilà. And the OI is always a wa. It's like WA, right? So
Troisième.
say it again. J'ai une troisième excuse.
J'ai une troisième excuse.
Perfect.
So the R too, the TR that gets wrapped into the wa.
Trois. Yeah. Yeah.
Troisième. Okay.
Troisième.
Okay, great. Cette grande personne habite la France.
Right.
Où est la...
Ooh, yeah.
Où est la femme est froide?
Okay. First of all, ooh. So I was thinking, I should make some sentences where they go ooh, ooh, because that is difficult till you get used to it. So OU is always going to be ooh, whereas the U all by itself is ooh. So yeah. But here it's, of course, how is this one pronounced?
Ooh?
Ooh, absolutely, because it's OU. Ooh.
Yeah.
One thing to note that some people who are learning French, if there is an accent on the U here, it means where.
Where, right.
Whereas if
but
you
doesn't
have
that change the pronunciation too?
Not at all. Not in this case.
That's so weird.
Not in this case. I don't know what the origin of the word is, but if with the accent there, it means where, and if there's no accent, it means or.
Right.
Plus ou moins, more or less. Plus ou moins, more or less. In that case, there's no accent on the U. Okay? These are all things, anything I say is simply background noise, helps you notice it. It might be, I might mention this again, and all of a sudden one day you'll look at it and you'll see there's an U there with no accent, and it means or. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And if it has an accent, it means where. Now, habite. What do you think habite means?
Oh, to live.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I knew that.
And then you said, okay, now here again, I say that there's a liaison with a consonant if the next word begins with a vowel, but it's not always the case. So here, fin is always fin. I've never heard anyone say fin mais froid for whatever reason. Maybe we have a native speaker here who will chime in and tell us, but to me it's elle a faim, she is hungry, and elle a froid. So when I was at school, we were learning French, and so there were certain expressions with avoir, to have. Avoir is to have, right? J'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. That's to have. All right? Now, there are certain, call them idiomatic expressions that use use a technical term, auxiliary verb, avoir. So, avoir faim is to be hungry. Avoir froid is to be cold. Avoir envie is to want to do something. Avoir peur is to be afraid. So you'll come across more and more of these where the word like avoir, is used together with hunger, thirst, cold, fear, and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
to have hunger, to have fear,
to have
cold.
Right.
The good thing is Spanish prepared me well for this one, but that was very hard to overcome when I first started learning Spanish. So if you don't speak a language that structures this kind of phrase like this, it takes a while.
It takes a while, and even after it's explained, and that makes sense, you still want to say je suis froid.
Yeah, totally.
in Spanish or in French. And it's just one of these things that, sorry, go
And
ahead.
you know how in Spanish you can say, tengo frío, but you could also say estoy con frío. Could you do the same thing in French?
No.
Je suis avec
I've never heard it. Maybe there are some areas in France where they say, or Quebec, but I've never heard it.
French speakers, leave your comments.
They might leave some comments. I'm not aware of it. So one thing I would say that for people who do multiple Romance languages, even languages as close as Spanish and Portuguese, there's always differences in not only in usage but in grammar, minor differences.
Yeah.
Even though they're very similar, you can't assume that because it works one way in the one Romance language, it'll work the same in the other.
And I mean, even the sentence structure between Spanish and Portuguese is very different, and like the one that keeps on getting me in French is, there's a slightly different sentence structure, and having to say the article as well.
And having to say the article, right?
Yeah, that I'm getting stuck on.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we'll go for another sentence here.
Okay, back up. Elle a besoin d'être consolée.
Okay, so first of all, we have another idiomatic expression with the auxiliary verb avoir, to have. Elle a besoin, she needs. So that's a very, very common expression. And, need is something we are often expressing. To want, to need, is one of these things that we often have to say. So, j'ai besoin, tu as besoin, nous avons besoin. That's quite useful, okay? Besoin de something. We have a need of something, besoin de. And in this case, what does she have a need for?
To be comforted.
Right.
Or consoled.
Consoled. Yeah, I mean, comforted, consoled are the same. And can you read the sentence again?
Yeah. Elle a besoin d'être consolée.
Okay, so elle a besoin. Make sure besoin. It's not besoin. It's besoin. It's take besoin. It takes a long time to get used to the fact that the unaccentuated e in French is most often e. It's not e, and that's particularly the case for speakers of other Romance languages. They want to go besoin, but it's besoin. And it's d'être. D'être. There's no accent on the last e, so the last e can actually disappear. D'être consolé.
D'être consolé. D'être consolé.
Right. And one last thing, which we won't get into detail on, but we want to start noticing these things. You notice there's an extra E on consolé?
Right, because she's a female.
Exactly. Okay. So that's the past participle. And the past participle will always agree with the subject.
Yeah, exactly.
So if there's...
The way I learned that is because I noticed that the word fiancé, which we use in English, of course,
right,
is sometimes spelled with two E's and sometimes with one. And I had to do some research years ago, and I thought, oh, okay, one day when I learn French, I'll remember this. And here we are.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So maybe we can take one more sentence.
All right.
Oh, good. We got a lot of blue words here.
Great. Well, we already know I know this one.
Right. Except it's again, one of the things in LingQ is we count each form of the word as a separate word. So even if you know the word excuse, when it shows up as a plural, which is the S here, then we count it again as a word. Very often it performs differently in the sentence. In this case, it doesn't. But that's why you can't do too much bragging about your word count in LingQ because it counts every form of the word.
Yeah, well, and of course, I could have hit the X and ignored that. I got a little bit.
No, I wouldn't do that. I don't ignore different forms of a word. I only ignore, you could, I mean, they're your own statistics. You can do whatever you want. But if it's a proper noun or name of a place or something, then I ignore it. But different form of a word, I count that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because in some cases you might, for example, a different form of a verb, you might have trouble with that particular form of the verb.
That's true.
And so no, it's legitimate to count each form of a word, in my opinion, as a separate word. Okay, let's try reading it.
All right. si toutes ces excuses ne suffisent pas.
Okay. So, si toutes ces excuses, say si toutes ces excuses.
Si toutes ces excuses.
Voilà. And of course, the S, the second S, we don't pronounce, right? So, si toutes ces excuses.
Excuse.
Excuse, right? We pronounce the first S, or not, the second actually. Si toutes ces excuses, there's a liaison. Si toutes ces excuses. Now we come to the verb. Now, do you know what the meaning is, first of all?
This verb?
No. That's the excuses. That's the noun.
So this is like to be sufficient.
Correct. To be enough, right?
Yeah. So to suffice, I guess that's it.
To suffice,
put it. Yeah.
So, you mentioned earlier, well, that, we have to use the personal pronoun in French, je, tu, il. One of the reasons is that the third person plural, for example, for some verbs can sound the same as the third person singular. In other words, the ENT of that they form is never pronounced. So, si toutes ces excuses ne suffisent pas, so ne suffisent pas, the NT is not pronounced. Now, the third person singular in this case is suffit, but there are verbs where the third person singular and the third person plural can sound the same. In any case, enough of the different forms sound the same that we always need the personal pronoun. So, si toutes ces excuses ne suffisent pas, which you understand, right?
Right.
Okay.
You want me to say it?
No, you can continue reading.
Okay. Je veux bien dédier ce livre à l'enfant car était autrefois cette grande personne.
Right. A little bit complicated, but je veux bien. Je veux bien is a useful expression. Je veux bien.
Did I say that right?
Je veux bien. Je veux bien.
I am willing. I do not mind.
But it means more than je veux bien has lots of different meanings. You'll come across it again in different contexts. That's why I think it's worth saving. So it says, I'm willing, I'd like that. Oui, je veux bien. Do you want another cup of coffee? Oui, je veux bien. It has lots of different, lots of different meanings.
I'd be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I see you use context reversal. That's my go-to dictionary in different languages.
Yeah, and I actually haven't been using it that much, but since you recommended it, I need to start using it.
And it also has a context reversal, has a conjugating dictionary, which is also very, very good.
I love that. Yeah, that's very helpful. So it's kind of like another way of saying like I want to, but it's a little bit more casual and it's a slightly different.
It means all of those things and more. Like I don't mind, I wouldn't mind, I want to, gladly, all of those things. In fact, click on the three dots, we'll get even more. Go down to the
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a very useful phrase. Je veux bien, you're going to hear it again. All right, let's get back to our text. So, and dédier we've already come across, but here, of course, it's in the infinitive, whereas last time was the past participle, right? I see. Oh, yeah, you're adding more hints to your dictionary definition. That's great.
Okay. I am, yeah, just because there weren't really very many good ones. So sorry, I missed what you said.
No, that the next word dédier we've already had.
Dédier, right? Just a different form of that word. So did I mark that other one as no, or?
I don't remember.
I wanna review that.
Okay.
Ce livre.
Right.
À l'enfant.
Right.
Car this is where the sentence just gets destroyed for me. Let me try.
It's so convoluted.
Qu'a été autrefois.
Okay. Qu'a été, que, the child who, l'enfant, qu'a été, then we know that.
L'enfant.
Okay.
That
now the interest,
has.
It has qu'a été autrefois.
That has.
Yeah, that has, because if it's not l'enfant qui, which would be who. It's kind of a awkward.
It would be qui,
Yeah.
right? It's just that it's turning this into, it's just like who has or that has, kind of the same difference, right?
Right. It's really the same difference. It's,
Yeah.
you know, Saint-Exupéry trying to be clever, I think. I don't know. Qu'a été autrefois. Now, do you know the word autrefois?
No. Oh, interesting.
All right. That's a useful word.
Yeah, I like that. And like another time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, formerly in the past, another time, exactly. But it doesn't mean the same as otra vez in Spanish.
No, no.
So be careful of
story.
what they call the false friends or something.
A false friend,
Okay.
yeah. Foi ami.
Right. L'enfant qui a été, autrefois c'est grande personne. So it's just to bear in mind that if it's qu'a été, that he wants to use that as the object rather than the, okay.
So
I have trouble sorting my way through this, but l'enfant qui a été.
I mean, this is a weird, like, mystical.
Well, no, I think if he said l'enfant qui a été autrefois cette grande personne, it has a slightly different meaning. In other words, the child who used to be this great person. That was one thing.
Spoke to the child that was once that great person.
So
and as you read this book too, all of this context makes more sense because they talk so much about grande personne, like the great people, and children, and you know, it's about the child. Have you read this book?
Bits and pieces. Yeah,
yeah.
I like history books. Anyway, I think this is the object. The qu'a été is the object of dédié. So he's dedicating the book to the child. And I think that the qu'a été is still the object of the dedication. So it's not qui a été. Qui a été would almost separate the latter half of the sentence. But here he's saying, I'm dedicated to the child who used to be, this is the child who used to be this great person. So it's sort of the object of the dedication. That's why it's qu'a été rather than qui a été.
Okay.
Okay, since we've tied ourselves in knots here, maybe that's good enough for today. And we'll save your statistics for next time because I think we've covered it. And keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on listening and reading. And sometimes the oo and the u and the on, un, it's kind of maybe at some point, occasionally practice them just to get used to saying them, even if you get them wrong. Focus on the listening and the reading, and you'll find that in 2-3 months from now, it won't be so much of a tongue twister to hit these sounds, you know, oo, u, or on, un, to get them right. That I've had the experience so many times that what I find very difficult to pronounce at the beginning, if I keep on listening and reading, 3 months, 4 or 5 months down the road, I'm able to pronounce them much better because my brain hears them better. And you can't pronounce what you can't hear. So you got to train the brain to get used to them, and then pretty soon you start to be able to produce them.
Very true. Well,
Okay.
I look forward to that.
All right. So we'll leave it at that then. And hopefully this is helpful to people, and we look forward to your comments.
Merci beaucoup, Steve.
Beaucoup.
Beaucoup.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.